Excel has over 400 keyboard shortcuts. Now the question is, if you have to memorize these shortcuts, the answer is absolutely no. However, it will be an advantage if you can remember a few of them. With regular practice, you'll be able to remember most of the common Excel shortcuts. In this video, we'll be looking at some smart Excel keyboard shortcut keys when you're working with rows and columns. Now, the first keyboard shortcut key that we'll be looking at is the Shift Space. Now, many of you wouldn't have been aware of this keyboard shortcut key, but what it actually does is to select the whole row for you. Now, at any instance, for any active cell, when I press the space shift, it will select the whole row for me. So supposing I select this range of cells and I press shift space, it will select that same rows for me. Now, if you move towards your right, you notice that the whole row is selected, and once you keep on going, you notice that it's the whole row that is selected eventually to the end of the workbook. Is that not super amazing? Now, the next Excel keyboard shortcut key that we'll be looking at is Ctrl Space. Pressing Ctrl Space at any instance on your keyboard will select the whole column at that time. Also, for a given range of cell that is selected, pressing Ctrl Space at that time will select those particular columns at that instance. Is that not super awesome? Now, the next set of keyboard shortcut key that we'll be looking at is the combination of 4 keys. But these 4 keys, you are not going to be pressing them down at the same time. All right. So you hold down, you press Alt, leave it, press H, leave it, press D, leave it, and then press C. What this does is to delete the current active column at that particular time. So I'm going to undo this. I notice that the column that will have active, where the active cell is column C. So Alt H D C deletes that particular column for me. How wonderful could that be? You don't need to select the whole column, just a cell within that particular column. Alt H D C. Okay, deletes that particular column for me. And we should look at the next keyboard shortcut key, which is the Shift key and the Space key, then followed by the Control key and the minus key. Hope that is clear. So what you need to do is to select your whole rows, all right? Then press your Control key and the minus key, and it deletes that particular row for you. Let us go again. So I'm going to undo this. Okay. Now, what Ctrl Shift does for you is to select your whole row. So suppose you want to delete this whole row at the top. So Shift Space, select the whole row. And when I hit Control and minus, it will delete the entire row that was selected. Very easy and fast to implement. So we are going to undo what we've just done, and you should see how easy it is. First of all, use Shift. So supposing I want to delete this range of rows, use Shift and Space to select the whole row, then press down Control and minus, and it should delete the whole selected rows. Another way of implementing this is when you hold down Alt and you press H and you press D, this option comes up for you to delete either the columns or the row. Okay, C for column and R for rows. So you can go ahead to press R and the range of cells that has been selected will be deleted. So supposing this range of cell is selected and I want to delete the entire row where this data is. So I'm going to press Alt, H, D, then R to delete the rows. Hope this makes sense. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep on getting value like this. The next smart way to work with our rows and columns using keyboard shortcut key is by using the Ctrl and the 9 key on our keyboard. Just make sure you take note of what is happening here. So my active cell is in cell B13, and when I press my Ctrl and my 9 key on the keyboard, you notice that it does what? Hides that particular row. All right, so we undo what we just done, and you notice this is okay. Let's use this as an example. So when you press down Ctrl and your 9 key, it does what? It hides that particular row, and you can undo, and you notice that we have this. Okay, so supposing we want to select a range of cells, so range of cells, and I use Shift Space to select all those, and I press what? Ctrl and 9, you notice that it will hide all those. So how do you know that a row has been hidden or a range of rows has been hidden? So in this row column, you will notice that what? Between 8 and 14, there are some numbers there. Okay, so another way to easily unhide these particular rows is once your cursor is between 8 and 14, just double click and it unhides it. Okay, so there's another keyboard shortcut key which you can use to unhide, which is what? Ctrl Shift and 9, and will unhide the rows accordingly. So another way to unhide the hidden row is to select your 8 and 14 rows, hold down Ctrl Shift and 9, and it should unhide those rows for you. Now supposing you want to hide a particular column, so supposing you want to hide the region and the sales column, first of all, you can just select these two cells, hold down Ctrl and enter the space key, and it should select the whole column. Then you go ahead to press down Ctrl and 0, and those two columns will be hidden. And if you want to unhide, just quickly hold down, select the two cells where this guy is, hold down Ctrl Shift and 0, and it will be unhidden for you just like that. Is that not super awesome?